Flying Monkeys Wargaming podcast with Wargaming was easy to be your mom. I am on tonight with the Renegade, Dave Arimond. What's up, Dave?
Hey, how you doing, Bam?
Not too
doing
bad.
Pretty good.
He is David's running Spring Up GT up, basically up in Renegade GT territory. So, what's the difference between Spring Up and Renegade?
So Renegade is traditionally, not COVID years, a full convention. The last time we ran it in 2019, we had just short of 500 people show up for the entire convention, which ran 23 different events, had a vendor hall, had a hotel that was lined up, everything. Right, so that's a big con. It's like basically a tenth the size of Adepticon, right? Yay!
And
but Spring Up's just a GT. That's all it is.
Yeah.
We're back at Fantasy Flight Games for Event Center for that. So it's good. I mean, we're back at our home roots. It's where we were for quite a few years for the Renegade when it was just a major or a GT, and now we're doing 4 events a year, and Spring Up is the first one.
And I saw you posted your COVID protocols today, so looks like you guys are doing it cautiously and doing it right. So,
Yep.
what's the expected attendance for it?
Right now, we're sitting at 52 out of the 58 max that we would be legally allowed to have per COVID protocol. Normally that convention hall could do like 110 person GT. But COVID. So we squeezed it down to 58 to keep everybody nice and safe and apart from each other.
That's dope. Well, there's some. I think Ben Sherwin's a heavy hitter headed that way. Who else on the roster were pretty heavy hitters you're expecting this weekend?
So the heavy hitters I'm expecting this weekend are obviously Ben Sherwin. Also, Asa Carlson is coming back with his Demons list that he won Renegade Mini GT last year with. So I expect him to be a good contender again, although the meta has shifted away from pure Marines, so his list might run into trouble, especially with the 3 Jakari lists that are coming.
This Jakari's got a good counter for a lot of demons on the board. So.
Oh, yeah, it does. And 2 of the Jakari players that are coming are heavy hitters themselves. One you already mentioned is Ben Sherwin, who's no stranger to top tables, obviously. The other is Mr. James Kelling, who finally won his first GT last year.
He is a GT player or GT level winner, and he's a good LR player. So I expect he'll probably have a good outing.
I expect that he'll have a great outing too. So besides those 2, we've also got local favorite Charlie Andre. Any of you following the ITC stats may have noticed that Mr. Andre's in the top 15 right now as Dark Angels. So he's been playing real solid games. He's brand new to the hobby, though. Like, this kid is a genius at getting into the game. He's only been playing for 7 months, right? So he literally started during COVID.
That's crazy.
And he's gotten this good. So
some people just have it, man. And then the rest of us have to fucking work at it. So
I got nothing, man. I don't know what to tell you. My puppies just get beaten, like by former NFL players and stuff.
You know where my space wolves are?
On the shelf.
On the shelf right now. Yeah. So it's I'm running Chaos Soup this weekend at down in Oklahoma. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But so who else? I know I didn't realize James had switched to Drukari, but he'd been running Eldar, so he should be kind of familiar with the play style with the the glass hammery type shit. So
yeah, he's actually played Dark Eldar before in the past when they were called that, not Drukari. So it's not an army that he's totally unfamiliar with. He's definitely coming back to it. The other kind of like big hitters that could show up here is Mr. Number 3 in the ITC, Jeremiah Pettit.
Okay.
Guy hasn't won, like, straight up won Best General at a GT in a little while, right? Like, I think his last big wins were in 2019, but he's always in the top 5, man. He's always up there. He's always in contention.
And the thing about that dude is he's one hell of a hobbyist, too. So, like, not only is he playing towards the top tables, but he also usually brings it with a heck of an army. A nice presentation there, so...
Oh, yeah, and this will be no exception. He's bringing his Custodes again, and they are a gorgeous army. That candy red coat that he's got over their gold armor, it's just, man, is it great. It is just fantastic.
Super dope looking army. And actually, I think Kelling won Best Painted at Monkey last year, so he's a heck of a hobbyist, too. So who else you got?
Besides that, we've also got Mr. Ryan Olson, which, Flying Monkey and LMC players are definitely going to know. This is a guy who always gets in top 10 all the time. He's very good. He plays out of Iowa. He's part of a group called Salty Bacon.
Okay.
So, so they're good crew, and he's easily their best. He's their best player right now.
Okay.
So and he's going to show up. He's bringing Eldar. He's actually bringing a weird Eldar list that I would not expect him to want to run given the current meta. But
trying to pull Sean Naden. Is that what he's trying to do?
I think so. I mean, he's got Avatar Arcane. He's got a bunch of Dyers, Warp Spiders, Reapers, Wraithseers, and he's got a big unit of Guardian Defenders and a big unit of Shining Spears. So, I mean, this dude's clearly looking to catch people unawares with a list that just has a bunch of good synergy and does things that you're not going to expect, right? Like the movement shenanigans possible here, the amount of firepower that's coming out of the units he's got, it's going to catch people off guard. I'm sure of it.
Well, good. So what do you think the meta is going to shape up to be? Are you seeing I guess you've seen the list. What's the breakdown in your mind? What do you see that's expected? What do you see that's unusual? And you think there's anything that's a sleeper out there is going to catch you off guard?
So we've got a good mix, right? So our list mix-up is pretty even in terms of like what the meta's come to expect at this point. We're heavy-handed on Death Guard because a lot of people have had that on their shelves and are bringing it back out, or just got into it because they're like, hey, this is hot. Death Guard are still good, right? Even without Mortarion, they're still a good army. So nobody of like high note is necessarily playing a Death Guard army here, but that doesn't mean that there aren't some available options there. Like Geo Moss, he's a local kid up here, but he has a tendency to be in top 3 for every RTT. So maybe he'll step up and get that first good hit in a GT.
Yeah, and sometimes it's all about the matchups and luck. So if that happens, it could be the right magic. I'm talking to you, Dan Salmons. So
hey, he backed out.
Yeah,
I said no.
Yeah,
Minneapolis is on fire. You can't go. Okay.
How bad is it up there? If you don't mind talking about it, it's.
I don't actually.
Sherwin seems unconcerned by it. So
yeah, we're super far away.
Yeah.
So Roseville is an outlying suburb. We're a little more than 12 miles from the areas that have had any riots going on. And those riots, realistically, each riot has stuck to about like a 4 square block area or 6 square block area. So it's not super widespread. Yes, crime's a little higher, but it's nowhere near what we've seen in this city before. Like literally the name in the 90s for our town was Murderapolis. Okay. Right? And that's when the governor had to call in the state troopers and the county sheriffs from all around the Twin Cities to just clean out the gang violence, the drugs, everything else. Right. So yes, we're in the news for not a great reason, but our event's nowhere near it, and there's lots of easy ways to travel and get around it.
Yeah.
Like if you stick to the Beltway and not go up 35 into town, just take 494 or 694 around, you'll be fine, and it only adds like about 15 minutes to your travel time. Yeah. So it's not really a big concern for us. We have been in contact with the Roseville Police Department, so that's the name of the suburb that we're in. And they tell us that they have not had any increased activity reports on their part. So far, so good. Things are looking fine. We just had a check-in with them yesterday. So if things are going to go sideways, it'd be super fast, and we'd all hear about it in the news anyway.
Well, good. Well, I hope the event goes well. And it's going to be interesting to see what comes out on top. So speaking of Space Marines, you brought that up. I do want to ask, how many Space Marine lists do you think you have out of the 50-some players this weekend?
16.
16. Okay,
16 if you include all factions.
So still a pretty good percentage of the field. How do you think Space Marines are going to fare in the event? I think people still bitching about Space Marines. That meta is still left. That meta is far behind. Yeah. I don't know if you have the same take I do or not. What do you think about those 16 lists? What do you think their chances are?
I think the best amongst them is going to go 3-2 or 4-1. And that's if they get the right matchups. If they get the wrong matchups where they're up against, Death Guard's always a hard counter for them, right? Because it's just, how are you going to kill that? Like, even if you're tooled to kill Space Marines, -1 damage, and Mortarion, that's really hard to get through, right? Especially when you have a low model count army. Drukhari seem like purpose-built to kill Marines, right? they're not, but they have a lot of options
A
to
lot of
kill
nice
multi
2
wound
damage
dudes.
with a ton of dice thrown at you. So
Oh yeah. So I think the era of Marine dominance, we're past it, right? Like if you see a Marine list do really well now, it's going to be like a niche player who's like purpose built, tooled his list to face a certain meta and got the right matchups.
yeah. So are you guys streaming any games this weekend, or just gonna have to follow along on BCP?
Unfortunately, you're going to have to follow along BCP because we don't have our own gear.
Yeah.
Uh, Normally, partly because we're lazy, but also because normally our events have been broadcast by LMC, but right now Mr. Horn's not doing travel, which is totally understandable. Also, he's hosting his own event this weekend, so fair enough. So no, unfortunately,
If
just
it
gonna
makes you
have to
feel any
hobo it.
better, I'll give him extra grief on your behalf.
Sweet, yes, I love it.
Yeah.
Yes, take that wooden spoon and hit him a few times with it. Just
I will do so.
old grandma style.
Yeah. Well, good, man. I hope your event goes well. Are tickets for Renegade for sale yet, or you still were in the process for that? Just been kind of hitting this GT.
Just hitting this GT. We do have another GT that's going to come up in July.
Okay.
It's in mid-July, and details and tickets for that are going to go up shortly after SpringCon.
And you do all that through the Renegade website, right?
That is correct. Yep,
Okay.
RenegadeWargaming.com.
Okay, yeah. So I've been to Renegade. Arimond runs a hell of an event. It's judging staff, people there, all a good show. So I would highly recommend going to it. I would like to get to Renegade this year. It's birthday time, so might be a good getaway for a weekend to go up there and find some shenanigans. So, anything else you want to throw out there, Dave, for everybody else?
Nah, dice safely and have fun, and just keep a positive outlook, man. The sooner we all get vaccinated and all this stuff is done, the sooner we can go back to playing more games in person, man.
Just rolling dice and talking shit. So
that's right.
All right, and take the beltway when you're up there.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Dave, and I'll look forward to some updates come Monday or Sunday.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can also check us out on our Facebook page. We'll put updates all weekend there.
Sweet.